Good evening and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Naomi, the How To Chick, and I'm here. Sorry I wasn't able to be with you last week, was a little bit under the weather. This is a tough season for me as well as other people. I talk about it a lot, but tonight we're talking about something else because I was reading I was reading my own devotional and I was journaling some things that God has called me to do, has asked me to do. And baby, I got a song in my spirit and it really hurt my feelings. So I thought, let me not be alone in the hurt feelings. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Very entertaining is my topic. If this is your first time catching one of my lives, my name is Naomi. I go by the How To Chick. I am a child of God, a wife, a mom, an attorney, a coach, a mentor, a speaker, and an author. If you haven't already, and you have ever struggled with saying no, with doing for others what they should be doing for themselves, with fulfilling your own goals, dreams, and ambitions because you are so busy and so overwhelmed with other things that are not serving the purpose or assignment that you know that you have, get the book. But tonight, we're here on the topic very entertaining. If you guys know, you know, I'm unapologetically a God girl. My relationship with God has shaped my entire life. And that's why I come on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on or around Eastern at 9 p.m. Eastern to talk about love, life, and the relationships that we have, specifically the relationships that we have with God and other people. I mean, with God and ourselves that necessarily affect, that is, the relationships that we have with other people. Tonight, like I said, I was not tonight, but today, I was going through some of my work and some of the things that I know that I'm supposed to be doing right now and just journaling about them and trying to set a plan and organize myself. And instead of doing what it was that I knew I was supposed to do, I was choosing to do something else because it seemed like the right thing to do. And when I say it seemed like the right thing to do, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to rest today or, oh, I'm just going to not today. It was something that was noteworthy, something applause worthy, right? Something that other people would look at and say, wow, you did a good thing. And it wasn't a good thing for me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I promise. I use LAN to go live every single time I use my LAN. And somehow, despite being plugged in to grounded Wi Fi, whenever it's a topic like this, baby, I'm going to lose connection. So, anyway, I was thinking about something that I thought I wanted to do, knowing, right, that I was supposed to be preparing to do something else. And I'm going to be completely quite frank with you, it was ministry related. It was something to do with serving, right? And I thought this is a good thing that I should be doing, but I was supposed to be doing something else. And in my spirit, I felt a slow clap building. And I was like, what? And so tonight, the topic is very entertaining after a very old song, and I'm dating myself now from 2008. There's a song called Take a Bow by Rihanna. And it says this, it says, how about a round of applause, standing ovation? You look so dumb right now, trying to apologize. You're so ugly when you cry. Cut it out. Don't tell me you're sorry because you're not. Baby, I know you're only sorry you got caught. But you put on quite a show. You really had me going. Now it's time to go. Curtains finally closing. That was quite a show. Very entertaining. But it's over now. Go on and take a bow. And in that song, I'm pretty sure she's talking about a man and cheating on her, whatever, whatnot. But in my spirit, that's not, let me tell you something. Not all of us was always on the same level of saved-vation, right? We were listening to the songs on the radio, and these songs will come back to us, and God will use anything, because he really did use this to talk to me, because there is a difference. And this is what I'm here to talk to you about, between spiritual activity and spiritual maturity. And there are a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. There are probably people older and younger than that as well, who are engaging in elaborate patterns of self-deception, by which we convince ourselves and the people around us that we are spiritually mature, that we are discipled, and that we are walking in the calling that God has placed on our lives, while simultaneously being on ships bound for Tarshish and everywhere but where the Spirit of God has called us to be. And so tonight, I'm here to straight up remind you, this is not a paid advertisement. This is not even me trying to step on toes. This is me trying to remind you, because the Spirit had to gather me gracefully this afternoon and say, yeah, it may not be fun or glamorous to sit there and work on that business proposal, to sit there and do that grant writing, to sit there and finish those invoices that you need to submit for your business, right? To sit there and write up that next proposal for whatever, to sit there and finish the work for your job. It may not be glamorous, but that's what I need you to do right now. But instead of doing that, what you want to do, and he was talking to me today, was go out and plan an elaborate outreach event that you don't have the time, energy, money, or capacity to bring to fruition in the season. So you're going to be running around, stretching yourself, stressing yourself and everyone around you out, because you want to do some good that I didn't ask you to do. And it really, I'm not going to lie to you, it hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings. And it hurt my feelings for two reasons. One, because I am consistently active in these ways, so God knows that I'm not doing it for show. But two, because it was a reminder that even when you think you're spiritually mature, it is very easy to fall into what Proverbs talks about: the way that seems right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. God is after our hearts. He is after alignment and obedience, not performance. He doesn't care how well you preach, how well you sing, how many ministries your name is attached to, how many positions you hold in the church, how much money you give to charity, how many times you're outside feeding the homeless. He cares about your surrender. And in many cases, we avoid the places that God is pointing to in our lives because they're uncomfortable or inconvenient. And we're out here doing stuff. I mean, the thing that I was supposed to do only required me getting on my computer and working on a document for a couple of hours. And the great lengths that I had gone to avoid that were actually epic. And I could blame it on my ADHD. I could blame it on anything I wanted to. But the bottom line was, God said, that's not what I asked you to do. There are times when Christians spiritualize disobedience. We look around us at the condition of the world. We see what we think needs to be addressed, and we choose to work using our own strength, our own power, our own resources to address and meet those needs, when God calls it disobedience. Your therapist may call it a defense mechanism, may call it procrastination, may call it avoidance, may call it fear of failure, but the Bible calls it disobedience. And the scary thing is that, for me at least, we can get so used to avoiding the thing that we begin to avoid God. and the Holy Spirit. And I was talking to my kids tonight about Ephesians 4:30 that says, do not grieve the Spirit. There are many Christians who do good works. That's how we get to Matthew. He said, they will say, Lord, Lord, all these things we did in your name. And he will say, I never knew you. And so when that song started playing in my head, I immediately closed all my browsers and I sat down and I started journaling what it was I was supposed to be doing. And also I had to get to the root of why I was avoiding the thing that I knew God had called me to do. Because as Christians, see, I'm one of those my husband's podcast used to be called Faith Practically. And I don't believe that as Christians, we're called to live in that, oh, I'm too saved to be of any use to anybody in the world or to have any conversation that can mean anything or matter to anyone who is not a Christian or spiritual. That's not who I am. That's not where I've come from. So there are Christians who will spiritualize things. I tend to err on the side of practicality. And so when it comes down to it, I will analyze myself like a therapist. I'll say, what am I avoiding? Why am I procrastinating? But God was like, why are you not being obedient? Because that's not a word that I use, right? When I'm talking about something that I should be doing that I'm avoiding, I'm not calling it disobedience. Because I feel like this is something I'm doing for me. This is something I'm doing for my business. This is not something that I'm doing for God. But if you work at McDonald's, you're in ministry. If you work at a hospital, you're in ministry. If you work in an office, in the city council, in the Senate, you are in ministry. Your job cannot be different from who you are. Now, yes, separation of church and state. Yes, we are not out here proselytizing, but how you show up should be representing the God you claim to serve. So when we enter into avoidance and we call it peace, when we are operating in fear, but instead we call it discernment, we're like, oh, we can see the seasons changing. We don't think this would be a good time for us to do this. If you were called to do it right then, when you were called to do it, that's when you were supposed to do it. There are many times that we allow our pride, our fear of failure, and our fear to be renamed so that we do not have to address what is uncomfortable. So we will be too proud, right, to quit that job and struggle in self-employment because we don't want to lose that status, but we call it having good boundaries, right? Well, no, I don't. This is not something I feel called to do. We will be stubbornly set in our ways. God has told you year after year after year, decline that position, get out of that ministry. That is not where I've called you to be. And you're over here saying, I'm convicted that this is where I was called to serve. God had told you. He told you to go do something else. I don't know what it was. But you're over here saying you are convicted that where you are is where you are supposed to be. Let me tell you something. Some of us are confusing emotional shutdown with spiritual maturity. We think that we have evolved beyond getting angry or frustrated and arguing with people, but really we're in a situation where we are not even acknowledging our emotions. We're not able to address them fully. And so we are not even processing them. We are internalizing everything. We're shut down and numb emotionally, and we have not spiritually matured. And our disobedience does not fool God. He has one word for all of this. One word. Avoidance is what Jonah engaged in. I always wonder reading that story if he really ever thought he was going to avoid permanently going to Nineveh. Avoidance may temporarily reduce our anxiety about doing a thing. But if you've ever known that you were supposed to do something, that you had to do something, file those taxes, right? Pay those taxes, set up that LLC, quit that job. You know that you have a big step to take, but you are uncomfortable with the idea of taking that step. Avoidance will temporarily reduce your anxiety, but your long-term dysfunction will increase. You lose your peace, don't you? You stop sleeping well. Your mind starts running in endless loops about the thing that you know you ought to do. And Avoidance and procrastination feel like self help, but you're training your mind to run from the truth. And the thing about it is, as Christians, and I want to put this out here for us right now because this was the point of tonight. In that song, Rihanna says, "You put on quite a show. It was very entertaining. You really had me going. But now it's time to go. The curtain's finally closing. How about a round of applause, a standing ovation? Go on and take a bow. It's over now." The truth is, many of us are living lives where we are performing for other people. We are performing religion. We are performing spirituality. We are performing a version of our lives in front of crowds that does not reflect the truth of where we are. And so when I say that I believe that your faith has to be practical, your faith affects every part of your life. If your marriage is not healthy and you're pretending it is, hoping that one day it will be, you're doing yourself a disservice. You have to do the work to get it there. If your career is stagnating, and instead of digging in and training and getting resources to excel, to learn, to expand and grow where you are, you're immediately trying to bail and go somewhere else to also be mediocre. I mean, there's a difference between not being able to do your job well and advance and simply being stuck because you're in the wrong place. I'm talking about the former. It is important to recognize when we are walking in disobedience and when we are doing what we're doing out of misplaced motives, because God reads and sees and understands our hearts. And sometimes we even don't. The Bible says that the heart is deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can know it? Who can know it? If the word says who can know it, it means we can convince ourselves that what we're doing is right. And that's a very dangerous place to be. I've talked about the prayers that David prayed about showing him his own heart and showing him if there was any unclean way in him in Psalm 139. I've been through that process with the Spirit this year, and that's how I'm so quickly able to get gathered before I go down the path of foolishly entertaining distractions instead of just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But for you, my coach has just given me an assignment to not take on anything new this year. And it's so funny because she said that right after I had decided I was going to do this outreach. And so I was like, well, I guess it's not new. I had already decided I was going to do it. Gracefully gathered. Sometimes we need to finish what we've started. We need to commit to doing what we are committed to, our marriages, our children, our existing ministries, our careers, the way that we are showing up in our family systems, in our communities. Well, before we add anything else, we're not here to put on a show. We're not here to be entertaining. We're not here to win the biggest Christian prize. You know, America's top servant leader is not a prize that one can win. Although I'm sure that someone would compete for it if it were. If our lives are not being lived in authenticity because we don't even know why we do what we do, then can we expect to hear well done? Can we believe that what we're doing is walking according to the purpose and assignment that we've been given? If you are wondering whether this applies to you, Psalm 139, 23, and 24 is where I suggest that anyone start. Because for many of us, we sing the songs, "I shall wear a crown, well done." We worship and we praise and we put on a performance for others when our hearts are breaking, our spirits are wounded, and we are anxious and overwhelmed. And if that is you, I want you to recognize, as I've had to recognize, that we're not here to put on a show. We're not here to perform. There is one person whose applause and whose well done matters. And he sees and understands the motivations for everything that I do and I say. He knows the why, not just the what. So I encourage you to spend some time to determine why you're doing what you're doing with the Spirit. This is nominating committee season for many people who are engaged in church ministry. I encourage you to spend some time praying about where you will be serving and why. If your answer is you're not serving anywhere, pray on that, especially because the truth is, while there are people out here performing and doing 50, 11 things in every church I've ever been at, there's a core group of 20, 30 people who do just about everything, whether the church is 100 people or 800 people. That's not the way it was called to be. A hand is not supposed to be an eye, and a toenail is not supposed to be a spleen. A heart valve cannot be a cornea. Everyone has a role and a position to play. Let's stop performing and play our position. I hope this wasn't too deep for you guys tonight. But the last thing I want to hear is take a bow. I never knew you. I want to hear, well done. And I know that you do too. So, in service of that, I encourage you to remember you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. Let God do the choosing. And you will find peace, and you will find purpose, and you will find fulfillment. Let Him know you. Let Him show you you. Let Him change you, and then let Him use you. Be blessed, and I hope to see you again next week for Wisdom Wednesday. Good night.